Hey!
Jorg, welcome to Tulip.
Oh yeah,
Once
great.
again.
Yes,
Yeah.
like last year. It was great to be here last year.
Yes.
And I'm very curious to see what happened this year.
Yeah.
Not only at Tulip, but also in the fair overall. Let's talk a little bit about that. But last year, of course, AI was already a topic which was on top of everyone's mind. And then we talked about the topic of how can we make it scale to impact, so that it's not only a very specific, but scale to impact. So what do you think about that?
You see scale right here. I mean, we're now, coming up on 40 billion contextualized events on the Tulip platform. This is the level of scale that is really unique.
Wow.
It's unlocking a lot of value to customers. Data and the ability to take this data into use cases that employ AI in operational environments is very critical. Not just because it's helping humans and agents make decisions and effectively, run the business, make the right decisions at the right time. That has been obvious in the discussion for decades. But I think what AI is doing is effectively rewiring our company's work. And starting to see that at scale is extremely exciting.
Good, so let's talk about AI in processes.
Yeah.
What I hear from my customers is that, for example, agents are put only on very specific parts of the processes, but we lack looking at the process end to end.
Yes.
What's your experience here?
AI is not an add-on that you just sprinkle on top. You have to fundamentally rethink how your tools and platforms are utilizing AI to enable people to do work differently. And our focus has been exactly what you see up there. It's human-first AI for the people of frontline operation, and they need those tools available to them from the point they compose and design a production system to the execution, allowing them to iterate and continuously improve. Let me show you that.
Right.
First, we have an example factory here. This is Operations Composer. It allows you to very quickly, using natural languages, compose production systems. And here you're seeing we're prompting the agent that helps compose the Operations Composer agent to basically help us build the production system. And you can ask it stuff. So for example, we'll ask it to add a dedicated assembly guidance set of processes to this particular factory. In this production system, you can already see different elements that the agent added, covering areas like order management and performance visibility, all the way to genealogy reviews, inspection execution. What this is combining is knowledge, that in this case coming from the Tulip library, but it could come from the tools, the various connectors, MCPs that talk northbound to the corporate systems, your ERP, your MRP, your QMS. All of that is operational knowledge that exists in the enterprise digital backbone of the company. But also, there's a lot of devices, machines, sensors that input data, and they all can be integrated into this kind of view, then adding additional elements like automations and combining this with additional agents. So now the idea of library providing you content of here's the templates to perform this kind of operation or that kind of audit. Now we're adding context to the library, the ability to introduce agents. So this is very exciting, and that is just a tool to begin exploring and doing the design.
Before we call it process redesign. So it's a little bit a combination of process redesign and how AI comes together. One experience I made with my clients was that when we want to go about these end-to-end processes, it's super important to link the AI world with the business world. And sometimes it's not matching because the people do not talk enough to each other, because at the end we need to establish something. In the old world we would have called it process redesign, and combine that with the AI.
And who is doing process redesign? It's process engineers.
Right.
You want people to adopt the new ways of working with AI, but you got to meet them where they are. And process engineers will still use the same methodologies of thinking. Things like value stream mapping.
Exactly.
Things like iterative design and testing.
Exactly.
So you have to design the AI tools to meet them where they are. So what you're seeing here is, we can now in Tulip add a bunch of artifacts. So for example, in this example, here's a layout of a truck factory in the various areas it represents. I can add some SOPs and some views of the factory. Once I throw them in here, I can prompt and I can say, design the initial production system. I'm using natural language and artifacts that I create as a process engineer. They might exist in my various systems. And what's happening is now the AI is parsing all those artifacts. It's creating a lot of context on the operation, and it starts to work and prompt back the user with questions, different focus areas, for the purpose of designing a production system that fits what this particular process engineer wants to do. So, for example, it identified the cab line, the chassis line, kitting areas, and if I start talking to it, it will respond, creating more elaborate plan once I confirm that it worked. And once you do that, you can start getting all the way to views like this that allow you to not only build the full production system all the way to the app level, so we can go into, for example, the kitting verification. This application that helps you perform a kitting operation was not built by a human dragging and dropping. It was built by the agent based on the input.
Right.
But you can still have the control, the governance, the permissions, the approval path, and the tweaking. So if I want to go and add another new step for this application, or connect it to another MCP, or whatever a human can do, I'm able to do it in this app builder environment. But at the same time, I can also interact with agents to perform new operations. And when you move from design to execution, you can kind of combine the data that flows. And this is just like one value stream. Now think about that on all value streams, all sites, and getting all and collecting all the enterprise data. So this is an example of how you take traditional methodologies that process engineers used for decades and turn them into very familiar new ways of working that are supported by AI. And I think this is just the beginning. Was extremely exciting.
Very exciting. Let's talk about data.
Yeah.
Of course, because without data, we will not be able scaling at all.
No.
Do we need the same data architectures in our company to be able scaling?
Yeah.
And how do we do that?
A lot of people say, data is the new oil.
Yes.
I think data, when done right and combined with agents, is the new X-ray. Most enterprises, unfortunately, are pretty blind to how is their transformation process going. There's a lot of projects and readouts, and people get together and show things, but that's momentary almost and very siloed. We're working on taking this breed of AI-driven production systems that not only collect and contextualize tons of data, that they're used to make decisions on the business. And for that, we need a lot of visibility and a lot of orchestration. And what you're seeing here, this is an example as part of the Tulip platform product we call Ops Moto. Moto in Japanese is source or origin, so it's the source of origin of operation. This gives you data, gives you some flow of what's happening in your operation and how you're adopting various applications or agents or workflows. So it's standard information and different sites have different sort of performance volumes and so on. So it's kind of pretty interesting, but I think what's more interesting is when you start seeing AI work on enterprise data at a global scale. So this kind of heat map over time gives you an idea of the various use cases. So each block of color can represent what is actually happening in the site level, whether they're doing labor tracking or they're using work instructions or they're using line clearances. So different sites, different cultures, different languages, geographies, they all use the same platform, and then aggregating and then having AI understand, characterize, classify is very powerful. Here is another quick example of creating this visibility. This is a heat map. On the x-axis here, you're seeing the range of use cases again from very, very specific. So whether they're deploying logbooks or doing process audit, pack and ship processes and so on.
Right.
And you can start comparing sites. So this site, SD2 seems like it's going pretty well. Maybe here they still need to implement genealogy, but you're seeing other sites like SJ, for example, here. Like what's going on there? Is this a problem with leadership?
Yes.
Are they not trained? And this is a good example of what kind of visibility is available now. And I think this is what's been missing in the industries. And in fact, this is the tool for the center of excellence, is to not have like endless data collection from before, manual-driven reporting and readouts. All of that is out the door. It's just like how the speed the world works and what we can teach.
How do you ensure that you have the same data coverage in all the parts?
Well, Tulip is using a common data model, so that is something we provide in the platform, fully customizable to whatever ontologies you would like to use, whether it's ISO95s or the likes, but also not limited to what's coming from connectors. Because if your ERP defines a certain schema or your QMS enforces a certain schema, that can be adopted. Because Tulip is kind of the orchestration layer that sits in the middle, we can very easily create these kind of views. And you can imagine what happens when agents that are injected into this environment now the data could be made actionable. And I think that is like the closed loop that is missing. And I think that is like our next topic actually.
That's right. Which is physical AI.
Yeah.
And physical AI, probably first we need to define it. What's physical AI? Because it's a big hype.
So I think there's a lot of excitement about physical AI. Most of the AI experiences we've seen at scale so far are in the digital domain. For example, setting up, automatic marketing campaigns with mission control, sophisticated coding pipelines, all the code is being generated, and quality assurances, agentic, and these are very digital use cases. But in the physical domain, where you want to put AI to work alongside people and machines, robots, etc., in labs, assembly floor, warehouses, constraints are different. You need a lot of trust, and you need a lot of empowerment to people to actually work with AI in those environments. And for that, you need to close the loop, and you need to have different kind of AI, not just text-driven.
We talk about AI used where physical environment is.
Yep.
And this is much more than humanoids, which sometimes are equalized with physical AI.
I think people think humanoids is physical AI, and it's just like there's just a lot more.
Yes, exactly. The impact of pure humanoids in industrial space is even overstated.
Yeah.
But if you could look at the whole spectrum of being possible in physical AI, it's understated.
Yeah, this is sort of the way we think about it, is that, simply put, humans are going to be very much part of the physical AI. Humans live and operate in the physical world, and that's that's where we're focused.
So tell us a little bit how you think about
So the past year we've been collaborating with NVIDIA.
Yes.
We've been working with them on bringing physical AI to a complex operational environment. We work on a product we call Playback.
Right.
What Playback is allowing you to do, we've added cameras to this particular production environment, so they are overseeing the work cells where humans work, or perhaps machines are running, and they observe all the time. This integrates visual language model alongside more traditional generative AI textual models. They look at the same parameters, the same production system. We can collect and correlate now the video stream over time alongside what did the machine do, what are the work orders, what is all the metadata. And this correlation gives you the ability to go back in time and see what happened. So in fact, you can close the loop. So we can characterize what you can see here in this environment. I can click into, say, a particular station. So in this station, what's happening is I can go and watch and see what the language model will tell me. So who is standing, what are they doing, and this is all happening at the edge using NVIDIA hardware, allowing you to take care of issues like privacy, security, the cost, because getting videos up and down in the cloud takes a lot of time, latency on the network, and so on. So this is actually representative of, I think, the architectures that we would need for physical AI that are in fact hybrid between the edge and the clouds. And you can see that in some cases, this is another example where we're in Europe, so like privacy and anonymization is very important. So that can be built in directly into video processing algorithms, and in fact allows you to very quickly create kind of software sensors, because the visual language model are running all the time. because you can just set, the same way you would set up an agent with a goal, a certain prompt that tells you what to look for.
Right.
And I think that's like very powerful and shows the combination of how these models that are really focused on letting people understand what happened. Because you can imagine that if something goes wrong on the floor, if you need to deal with some deviation, say in some regulated environment where you produce something, what do you need to do? You have to stop the line. You have to go and you have to send people, and you have to employ a lot of data collection to perform forensics effectively.
Right.
Agents can do that in collaboration with humans, and they can produce the reporting, and they can very quickly get you up and running. And you can kind of see the way this is being, automated in a platform like this. And I think this is just, the beginning of how we're going to see multi-modality of AI doing work for humans, in fact, in collaboration with the humanoids, the classic automation, what have you. And
With that said, I think where we started AI in the processes end to end, the data layer, and putting it in physical AI, these all ingredients together will really enable us to achieve these step changes, right?
Yes. What you've seen with Playback is about closing the loop and having closed loop production systems.
Exactly.
But where we started, where the challenges of AI today, if we zoom out to the enterprise level, when you talk to the C-levels as much as I do, I believe it's like what they're trying to do is rewire how their companies work.
Exactly.
And these are the kind of tools that enables this rewiring.
Very exciting.
Yeah, very exciting. Thank you. Thanks a lot.